I don't know, we'll find out.
They want to bring a mailbox here instead of having to go to the post office. I don't know why not.
All right,
Makes sense to me.
That's like 2 minutes.
on that one.
Total sense.
All right, we will entertain a motion to come out of
recess.
recess.
Motion to come out of recess.
Second.
Motion to come out of recess by Councilmember Lundin, second by Commissioner Lundin, and second by Commissioner Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What is Councilmember for Kyle? Yep. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We came out of recess, and we will pick it up with E3 mailbox at City Hall discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So currently, the City Hall has two post office mailboxes at the post office. So we have 2 PO boxes, and it's because back in the day, there was a separate utility PO box set up back in the day. We have been told that the post office is moving. They'll be within city limits, but they may not be downtown. That got staff thinking about what is the best option for getting our mail. Our current process is every day we walk over, well, we could drive, I guess, but sometimes walk or drive over to the post office and we get our mail, deliver our mail there. And then we also have a drop box at City Hall right outside our front entrance door on the north side for utility payments or a drop box for other things. I asked staff to look into if we were able to put a mailbox here at City Hall. I kind of was under the understanding that we couldn't, but I was excited that we are able to if we want to. The post office master said that we're able to. It would have to go on the west side of First Avenue, but we could have a mailbox so we don't have to have staff time to go to the post office every day. We can actually get packages here, which would be very helpful. Instead of having to go over there because sometimes they're too large for their boxes and we get notified of that. We also can maybe combine it into one of having a mailbox with another box with it for utility payments so we don't have the drop box at the front. We've spoken a few times over the last couple years about the issues that we have. Sometimes it freezes up, sometimes it's icy around, it's dangerous for staff and residents for dropping their payment in, and sometimes the box doesn't open or doesn't close. We could eliminate that by having it all in one system and having a locking mailbox that the postal carrier can deliver to and we get our stuff too. So I'm just looking for, if you're interested in pursuing this, I don't think that there would be much cost. There isn't a huge cost to keep our PO boxes, so we can keep those until we transfer everything over. We wouldn't have to have a massive cutoff date, but we could start switching over our payments and things to that of whatever our, a new mailbox number would be. So just looking to see if you're interested in us doing that.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'd like to clarify one thing though. It would be a lockbox, right? A locking mailbox?
We would do, yes, I would recommend that we have a locking mailbox. So there'd be a small cost to that, but nothing too crazy.
What is the cost of the PO boxes right now to the city? Roughly. It's not a big deal. I'm just trying to do you justify it monetarily?
I want to say it's probably somewhere around that $9 per month maybe, but we do have
Okay.
2, so I'd have to look into it.
So let's say
Not
20
100%.
bucks a month.
$250 a year.
I would say.
You
You can buy a lot mailbox for a hell of a
Right.
lot
I
less
would
money
say
than
for
that.
both, it's less than $200 a year.
Okay.
But
And if,
still for
So
$200 a year.
Yep.
To be honest, I didn't really look at the cost of that as more as I looked at the cost of staff's time.
Right.
Because if they're not located down there, and let's just say they're, I don't know, anywhere. Even
By
if
Quick
they're-
Trip, just
Even
say.
if they're on this side of
Right.
the highway still, now you're getting in a vehicle to drive to that place. And I added up between staff's time to go to the post office and to the bank daily, which we'll be switching that with the bank as well. It's 2 hours a week, and that's 8 hours a month. That's a lot of lost time, just getting to and from are the services that we need to do, where we can eliminate some of those running around. We can go to the bank once a week, and we can have our mail delivered here.
so logistically, have you ever, or how often do you have situations where you need a letter extremely fast that day because the post office fills the PO boxes first, and you might be the last stop on the route during the day for letters, so you might miss your delivery on that day? Is it very often where you get things that have to be there that day, where being able to pick it up at the PO box, which is filled first, is advantageous versus waiting for the mail carrier to bring it?
I don't think so. I think the only thing that we'd have to make sure we do on our end is if it is the last day of the billing cycle, or I mean, the last day that the bill is due for your utility payment, that we look at when it was postmarked versus when we got it. Because there could be maybe a day delay. If, for example, we know that if we go to the post office at 2 o'clock, the PO box has been filled for that day. If they don't deliver here until 4, okay, well, maybe we didn't have time to process the payment. So we would know that we would add a day to that, so people aren't getting late fee. But we manually enter those in, so that's not a problem.
Okay.
It would just be something that we have to procedurally look at for our staff for processing.
And you don't get any other real time-sensitive documents that the city has to sign necessarily?
Typically, if it's signing, I mean, if it's like a FedEx thing, they come to our front.
Okay, sounds good. Just figured to ask all the questions.
Will you be able to, get yourself set up for both boxes for under $1,000 or so? Will that work?
Or would it just be one box?
I think it would just be one box. My
Okay.
recommendation is we go to one box. And so eventually, the utility payments will switch to the same address that we get all our other mail-in.
Okay, what about this utility box where they're putting payments right now?
That's just a slot.
And that will stay there?
Either it'll stay there or I'll add it to our, I have to look at the logistics of what's allowed with the USPS service. But what I had envisioned is that we have a mailbox and below it we have the drop box, so people can put their payment in and not have to get out of their car up here. But I have to make sure that that's allowed with the postal service, but worst case is we do keep this box here.
Okay. That sounds good. I think that's a good idea. I mean,
I wanted to get your thoughts before I spend all the work investing in this, because if you weren't interested in it, you know.
I guess consensus will say, get on it and figure it out.
Okay, thank you very much.
have they talked anything about where they're moving? Or have you heard anything? I know I got a really vague
It's
letter.
within the city limits.
Right, okay. And then that's confirmed. They've actually picked a location. Okay.
Which that's exciting.
That is exciting. Well, sounds good. We will move on to F1, County Road 5 repaving, continued discussion. So I brought this forward last month, or is it, maybe it's at a city council meeting or whatever it was. So there's always been a misunderstanding that the city is responsible for the county roads that go through town. We're not. We have really very little say in how the county plans their projects in town, and I would like to work to change that. Local government is the government that knows best what their actual residents want and need. We hear a lot of feedback about speeders and about pedestrians, and I don't think the county necessarily hears those same thorough complaints because people don't know they need to go to the county. They come to me or city staff because it's in the city. So I think the county misses a lot of feedback that we get and that we could translate onto them in an effective way. So as I mentioned, I'd like to have us and our engineer work on actual formal recommendations for every county road and every intersection in Isani. I know Whiskey was one where we had talked about traffic calming to slow people down. We didn't really make a head on that decision or that concept, but I think if we do, then the county engineer can look at our notes and maybe it won't dictate what he does, but maybe he'll have that in mind when he's doing something. Otherwise, the standard person in their brain is just gonna think, hey, we're just gonna do a mill and overlay, what's there because it works, right? Well, that's the easy way to do it, and that's how most people are gonna do it. But if they have a little bit of guidance right off the bat to, I guess, guide their decision and how they plan it, I think that would be effective. So I would like to have us maybe have a meeting once a year where we talk about it, or if we just, set it in stone and then we can adjust it every year, or something along those lines. Kind of like a goal planning session, but more for, county interaction with our streets and infrastructure. I don't know if anybody else had any ideas or things to add to that over the last month, but
Definitely a good idea to have a different conversation on our streets, and it's like a good direction.
okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas? So how should we format it? Should we maybe just, should we have a special meeting for that, or not a special meeting, but dedicated in the city council meeting that we talk about, maybe we just plan on tackling one road or one area per city council meeting till we get it covered, or what would you guys think the best layout would be, or cow, or?
I think maybe give Jason selected areas to look over and then give us a presentation, because he's gonna be the one doing it anyway, but how much time do we wanna let him spend on this too?
Right. At the end of the day, I think the county roads are our worst roads, by far, obviously, and there's feedback on them being our worst roads, and people don't understand it's not us. So I think at the end of the day, if we guide them in the right direction, that's a really big benefit to taxpayers to actually doing it right the first time. I mean, if you look at Eighth and Heritage, I think 5 years ago, we knew we wanted a roundabout there because eventually you're gonna have to have it, but they didn't do that in their plan, which is coming next year. And that's a big detriment to us now because if they're going there next year, they're not gonna be there another 20 years. So now, if we would've had that little hint in their ear, maybe they would've been able to plan for that effectively. And we have to plan for the future. It's not just this year, next year, it's 20 years from now. So, I mean, I would be okay with,
Have you not had any dialogue with the county at all?
what's that?
You haven't had any dialogue with the commissioners at all about?
I have, and I've talked to the county engineer about all of it, and it all comes down to this is what is planned and this is what's going forward. You know, I talked to him and I asked, can we change that project to a roundabout on Eighth, especially because that's where they're gonna be next year? Or can we move Heritage on this side, like flip-flop them? And he said, no, it's funding, and we would have had to do this 3 or 4 years ago. So, but there was no effective dialogue between council and the county 3 or 4 years ago. The council was lazy, the commissioners were lazy back then. There was none. So we need to set a precedent here that sets the city up for success in the long term, you know? So I have talked to all the commissioners about, or most of the commissioners, especially about Heritage, right here on this side of town, because it's awful. And how they have that slated for 2028, I have no idea, but it's not gonna make it till then.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but there's only 2 roads that the county is responsible. That's Whiskey and that's Heritage. That's it.
Yep,
So there isn't gonna be a lot of time, effort that Jason's gonna have to put into it.
sure.
So I still think the idea is get Jason to look at it, get his opinion, and then we go from there.
Okay,
If I could though, I think it does depend on how much we want, because if we wanted to give the county a recommendation, here's an engineering thing that we've had our engineering team, because Jason's gonna have his team look at it. We've had the dialogue with him of like traffic calming over on Whiskey, for example, right? But do we want his team to actually come up with viable solutions based off data and run the data to give the data to the county? Or do we want it just to be, here's what are the options we'd like you to consider? Because I think that those are different. Those
Sure.
could be difference between $1,000 and $12,000.
I think the ideal is to have his team do it, because you gotta have data. You can't, he can turn around and say, well, that's just your opinion, and that's not mine. If you have the data to prove it, they have a leg to stand on.
So then it comes in, and I don't disagree with that. Then it comes down to, we're using city taxpayer money to fund a county study. And it could be a minor study, but it would be considered a study.
but think about how much it affects our city residents and how little say, we have no say in that,
You still
zero.
wouldn't have a say in it, though.
All right, but you're still an influence.
Would it have any effect on the commissioners, though, to be able to sway them to move things up?
I think it would, because if you look at it, I mean, if you're looking at an organization and you wanna know what to do in that organization, you're gonna spend a bunch of money, you're gonna ask that organization, you know, what would be best. You're not, it's like a business, you're not just gonna throw money at something. I would think, I mean, that's,
Why don't we, if.
Well, where's our county commissioner for the city?
Got 2 of them.
2 of them, Christy LaRoe and Todd Christensen.
Well, they should be part of this conversation.
Sure.
And as them as elected officials, they should be attending these meetings,
Sure.
plain and simple. As much as you may want to say something about Mike Waring, he was here at every council meeting, never missed.
Oh,
one.
yeah,
Todd Christensen's been here quite a bit.
yep.
Chief
I
Myers.
think I've seen him twice.
Chief Myers,
Mike wasn't at every meeting.
did you ever get any data off of Whiskey? Did you see anything of interest or of concern, or?
I just sent that to Jason this week and talked to him briefly. Without talking 100%, it just looks like the 85th percentile. I want him to double check was over the posted speed limit
By a lot.
by just what I saw, about 10, so 40. And according to, I wanted him to double check to it, so I don't really want to speak out of turn too much, but from what I understand, that would, if the state did that study, that would be increasing that speed limit by 10 from, in the 30 zone.
That would be their only remedy, it's just to
And that
change the
was our
sign,
fear.
not to change the behavior?
Well, be changing the speed limit to 30, yeah. I'm sorry, changing it to 40. If they.
Right.
Oh, so changing it.
From 30 to 40,
40.
What,
increasing it.
what about the further outside where we had looked at reducing 55 down to, is that, where was that speed sign placed?
Well, the initial one was at Birch facing south, but I'm not
Okay.
sure how accurate that was because it could probably read in the 55 zone too, right? So now it's, was it Martin's Landing-ish facing, I'd have to double check which way it was facing, but I think it was facing southbound traffic. So we got 100% 30 mile an hour zone, and I think the 85th percentile was 42-ish, 41-ish. So according to Jason, if they did a speed study on Whiskey, on just that portion, they'd increase that zone.
So I thought the
That was our
original,
fear.
I thought the original goal was to get an idea if we could reduce the 55 down by South Passage down. Can we put the radar thing there so that we can get the data where maybe the average speed is 40 there as well, and then we can effectively change the speed limit from 55 to 40, or hope that the state has the same rough findings?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I think the next one, we're gonna try to spin it around, whether at northbound or southbound. There at Martin's Landing, we're gonna spin it the other way for a week, and then we can try it south. But as far as trying to, yeah, it was interesting.
Would the accidents at South Passage weigh against the speed limit change at all, or is it purely off of,
Would it change from this,
would that affect their decision, the fatal and near fatal accident last year?
speed limit would have had no factor in that.
Okay.
Why don't we
The
talk-
speed limit sign, speed had a 100% factor, but the
Yeah.
speed limit sign would have had no factor.
I think we should have further discussion with Jason, and then if we plan on going ahead with this, budgeted for next year, one road, and the following year, the next road, and split it up.
Sure.
And that way we can fit in the budget if we decide to go forward after talking to Jason and what he thinks.
Sure.
It's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah, I
definitely
think that's
should
been a
look
big
at it.
disconnect with the county and the city for a long time, and I've been fighting tooth and nail to get those, especially Heritage on this side, fixed, and it just hasn't gone anywhere, and they just don't have it even in the back of their minds.
If we're gonna have the discussion, can we invite them?
Yeah, I think we should. Just, if we can do whatever we can do to open up communication, I think Jason and Justin at the county work well together, and I just think we need to get on the same page about what our priorities are. Obviously, they're gonna have different priorities, but if they have our interest in mind, or our ideas in mind from the start, it might sway.
It's, since we're one of the biggest municipalities within the county, I know we work together with the roundabout. Is there a way to reach out to the county and maybe having one meeting a year with them and talking about infrastructure? I mean, we're a huge part of their tax base, and I would like to make sure and feel comfortable that we're getting the tax dollars allocated to us for the percentage that we pay in, or at least close, and it's not going everywhere else. I mean, that would seem the fair way, but I don't ever recall a county and a city really working together other than.
That roundabout was
this-
awesome.
Other than the
That
roundabout,
was
I
sweet.
think we did a great job at it,
Yeah.
but it would be awesome if we could get them to get together with us once a year, even biannually. Would be awesome to have a meeting with all of us.
So that would be an addition of a committee, essentially,
Right.
for us and the county. Okay, I think that's a good idea to swing past them.
Yeah.
Any other ideas that you guys have had?
Yeah, tell the general public along the two roadways that this is a county
Contact
road
the
and.
commissioner.
Yeah, I really think the people are gonna have to drive this for them to really listen. I'd hate to stick a lot of our city taxes into something that they can just go, okay, thanks, but still no.
I wonder if perhaps we could find out from the county, how often do they review their plan? Like, I know that they have just taken some time, they did a survey and they did whatever they're doing to come up with the plan. But if they review it annually, let's just say they do, we maybe could initiate a campaign within our city of, we'd like to gather your feedback because we know that the county is going to review their street plan in 2 months. And every year, we just get the community's feedback and tell them, here's how you can reach out to be a part of making an influence to the county and their decisions. I don't know if they review it that often, but
Yeah.
I agree. I think that it is to be we're looking at it as 4 square miles and it impacts us hugely. They're looking at however many square miles they are, and they're like, that's 2 little roads of our 50 roads.
Right.
So I think that it's gonna be the squeaky wheel of the loud voices that could maybe
Well,
make a change.
One thing you need to tell residents as well, and I have told them that, you are a county taxpayer, as well
Call
as a
them.
city taxpayer, and a third of your taxes goes to the county, plain and simple.
More
So-
than that now.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's just rounded out as a third. So they need to contact their
County Commissioner.
county commissioner, thank you, to show their disdain.
And when Todd's here, I think we should have more communication with him. When he gives us updates, we give him updates, you know, and try to help him advocate for us because, yeah, we need somebody to advocate for us.
And we do take in complaints, as you mentioned. I mean, staff, it could be from Public Works, myself, I mean, it does come in, and we're very nice, and we say, you know, here's how you can have your voice heard. We give them the commissioner names, we give them the county engineers' contact information. We're helpful for them to get to where they go. I would imagine some of those people are so passionate, I gotta believe that they are also calling them when we give them that information. Because they want something to be done, so I think we just keep doing what we're doing. We don't say, sorry, that's not us, and hang up. I mean, we do try to get them the context that they need.
Yep. Now, you thinking something like when we did the neighborhood for the parks?
We could do
Just-
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like if it's Whiskey Road and it's coming up, we can say, hey, Whiskey Road's being looked at by the county. Here's your county commissioners and their numbers and everything.
Well, I would say that 2028, they have Heritage on this side planned, and I think it's already done, like planned for, funded. So I don't know how far out we need to send out the letters. That's why I think if we have something like with our goals in place, no matter when they do it, they have it, and it's not dependent on people that, you know, I think you tell people that, hey, you need to go to the county to talk to them about this. I think people feel like it's a pawn off, even though it's not. The county commissioners are like the mayor of each little district of theirs, and people want to come at us with this stuff, but then not follow through and go all the way up, which is what you have to do. Unfortunately, even us, we have a hard time communicating with the county. And, I mean, it's been better, but how do we bridge that so it just doesn't have to happen that way? We are the voices of the people, and we've all heard enough complaints, so why are we not making a formal statement or recommendations so that the people are using us as that medium, not having to go through all the hoops that it might feel like to the people?
I know we don't have the iSchool meeting anymore, which was a collaborative
Right.
meeting with
Yep.
other entities, but not that I have the time for this, I just want to preface with that. But maybe we get more involved and we go to more of the county meetings, because they're having these conversations well before I believe that they applied for the LRIP grant for these projects that you're mentioning for 2028. Maybe we need to be at the table, and that's attending their meetings to make sure that we're finding out what they're working on.
So maybe that would be the committee to start. I've always wondered that, like, you know, why is there no committee for us to go sit at the county when the county is basically our,
We
you
can
know?
go to all their public meetings, it's just
Right.
who-
I was gonna
who's got
say,
the
you can be a
time.
resident
You
and go
can-
and not
right.
get paid by the city.
Right.
I have a quick question. How much if, thinking outside the box, we know that they have discussion on roads that, especially if it's one of our roads, can we send Jason to the meetings? How much would that cost us? Per hour, per hour.
A lot.
You
Then
know,
have to drive up here.
I'm gonna say maybe 120 an hour, but I'd have to confirm to see what bracket that falls under.
I'm definitely for that, because he's an
But the other
expert.
thing to take in mind is, if it's not during their office hours on Tuesday, which it wouldn't, he's driving up from Ramsey, so I'm not sure. I'd have to get a quote from him, to be honest, to attend a meeting up there regularly.
he'd be a perfect representative because he would know everything they're talking about and what our needs are. It's just a thought, only because I know I can't make those meetings, they're early morning. You may be able to, a few of us, but even then, we're not as educated as Jason would be on this, on being able to sway them into doing something different.
Don't they record and video their meetings?
I believe so.
So you can attend them anywhere.
What?
You can attend them anywhere. They have video and audio, I guess.
I think
Will
it's
they do
live stream,
Zoom?
and then they
Live
do,
stream.
and they do put their media on there that you can watch later.
But you can't make any input over
Oh, right.
virtually, so that's,
And then George, it'd be kinda hard when you're driving down the road.
Exactly.
You can listen.
you can listen. Well, I guess that was just, brainstorming some ideas. I think if we, maybe talk to Jason and just
Yeah.
come up with something, I think it'd be good to have a conversation with Todd and Christie to maybe come into meetings.
Awesome.
Maybe once a year, we get together with, kind of like we did with the roundabout, with just the two commissioners, the county commissioners. They'll be our voice for us, that's their job. I don't know where to go from here, but those are just some ideas.
I like the flyer for the directory thing, that letting everybody know that Whiskey and Heritage are county roads. And that if anybody has any issues with that, these are your representatives and these are the numbers and.
We may be able to fit that in the new website.
Well, and I imagine, we're pretty early in the stages, but they'll be doing open houses, and we can offer up to, please, let's have open house here, which I would imagine that they'd want to do, and, maybe we would spend some money to make sure that everyone is notified to the level we believe is appropriate, so there could be a little bit of investment there, but getting more people to the table at those open houses, I think would be a really good idea, to make sure that they know what's going on, so we're that conduit for the public.
So when they do a project through Isani, I was not even close to involved back in 2004, the last time they were here. When they have a project like that, they do have open houses for the planning phases, because I was told the planning's already done.
I guess I can't say for sure on their process, I don't know, but
They
I
probably
know
do it
when
at
we
county
do
level.
ours, we have open houses and it's a concept in here, like, when you think of the roundabout, we had concepts
Right.
of plans when we had our open house.
Is that
and
only
then we
because we
applied
took
for
the lead, though?
grant. I do know that they applied for the grant, so it might be that some stuff is already set in stone, although there can be change orders, even when you apply for programs and have things planned, so possibly with feedback, they would modify.
Okay.
I'm glad we're having a discussion. I would like to open up more of an avenue of communication with the county and try to advocate as much as we can for these two roads.
What should we do?
Talk to Jason and move on from there and then come up with a plan?
So maybe have him here next month for Cal, talk about it again?
Yeah.
Well, you also gotta figure
or the
out
next
how
time he's
far
here.
out the county looks, or how often they look at our roads and when the planning stage starts.
I know they did a public safety evaluation, what was that, probably 4 or 5 months ago, where they wanted people to go in and input things, and I looked at it and barely anybody replied to it. I made a bunch of points on it because there was like 2 points in the entire city that people had mentioned. It's like, what the heck? But people didn't know about it, and I tried to share it, and so there was some on there, but people don't really get involved with the county trying to make those types of decisions, so that's why I think it's important we do.
Well, Jason will be here for the next council meeting, won't he? We could have a discussion meeting on the city council agenda, so he doesn't have to come in a couple hours early.
Right. Okay, so just have some more discussion with Jason when the time is convenient or makes sense for us.
Yeah,
Or him.
next council meeting probably would work fine, because he'll be here, so we could just put it on the next council meeting as a discussion item with Jason, and hopefully we can make quick work of it.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll move on to F2, Public Safety Committee, continued discussion. Now, this is something I brought up as well. This is similar type of discussion, again, the county, and I want to make sure that the city and the county and all the elected leaders and anybody involved in something like an emergency know what to do if there is an emergency. And some of the processes, there's been a lot of questions about, obviously the tornado sirens and what happens if, there's a shooting or who knows, anything could happen. So I would like to open the discussion between the county and the city on emergency management stuff. I know there's obviously communication with Chief Myers and Sheriff Cyberlick, and there's a emergency service manager now for the county, or emergency management. What is this title? Emergency management operator or
Director.
director? So there's that, but how do we get, I guess, more communication with the city and the county? I know Ms. Wood had said there was training back in the day or some sort of committee that you guys had done, but it hasn't been done for quite a while.
Part of that we discussed earlier is now that there is emergency manager, part of it, they have a grant funded, well, it's partially funded by the state, and part of that funding is requiring to do countywide stuff,
Okay,
training and drills. There's actually, we're doing one tomorrow, multi-jurisdictional with the school district.
okay,
And, so I think because now that they have their emergency management director that they were lacking for the past 3-4 years, that so there was a vacuum there, which we've discussed, that there was an issue. So now they're back up to speed. So I think that's beneficial. And I think that training that you're going to,
Yep.
if anybody else can go to that, it gives a pretty good overview on as far as the FEMA side, down to state side, down to county side, down to local government side, because that all has to work together, and there's things that we need to do from the front side to go back up that chain.
okay.
I just want to make one comment about trainings. If you want local level officials to attend these, you might want to have them in the evening, not at 1 o'clock in the
I'm not
afternoon.
hosting any
I'm just
trainings.
saying, so if you come to the person that plans this, local level officials, I think would attend these type of trainings if they're in the evenings.
It's true for me.
I would be there for sure. I wouldn't even think twice. I'd make that meeting. That's very important for all of us. In fact, I was gonna ask Luke, if it sounded like you were going, I was hoping that we could actually have a discussion of everything you learned and you give us all the details during a COW meeting, so at least we can get filled in as much as possible.
Right, and that's what it comes down to. That's one of those communication things, though. The emergency management guy, he had sent out an email asking for the best times. Well, the best time, the people that all apply, are going to it are people that work for government, basically. So they're working during the day, so that's the time that worked best for them.
Right.
So we don't have, I didn't get that email until kind of last second, and only because I pushed back on public safety about how do we get these communications open. So I think there just needs to be a little bit more transparency with that between, the city and the county. Obviously, he's newer, nothing's perfect right off the bat as far as how everything intertwines, so.
Can you suggest or see if it would work out in the future if they have more meetings like this? Mention that exactly what you said, that you understand that the reason they have the meetings when they do is because they're government officials and they work within these hours, but most elected officials work outside those hours, and that maybe they could have a second meeting for just all elected officials, for
Okay.
township board members, city board members.
Township.
If it would be feasible and if it would work out for them, that'd be awesome.
I
My
think that's,
recommendation on this, after you go to that training, reach out and have Clinton come to a COW meeting.
Okay.
But then you can give him, because you have some insight of what you learned, what you think is important for the rest of the crew up there.
just have him give him like a 15-minute okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I
I
was,
think that would be beneficial all around.
okay.
Do you think they'll be doing a slideshow?
If you'd like a slideshow.
I'm just saying, if he does a slideshow, could,
At the training,
yeah, at the
I
training.
would assume,
They could share it.
Well, actually, I think, don't get me wrong, I think HSEM is putting on the training. So it's done by HSEM from the state agency. So maybe, yeah, we can check and see if that's something that
It'd be
can be
nice if
shared.
Josie got that email and she could share it with all of us.
maybe they have an online
Are you-
training for it. I mean, the state spends a lot of our taxpayer money.
Yeah, they only do certain ones of those online, probably not that one. But
Okay.
I do think the benefit, or might work best, is after you go to that training,
Sure.
come up with what you thought was important, and I can work with Clinton and coordinate him to come to a call meeting for 10, 15 minutes and just give the overview
That's a great tip.
of things that you think are important. Because you would know what's important as an elected official. I can't really tell them, hey, say things that are important, but I think it'd be great for you to go to the training and then be able to relay what you think
Sure.
he can relay. Plus, then he's here, he asks questions as needed.
Yeah, I think that's great. You know, asking these questions, maybe we'll come up with something that yearly you get a little bit of education for everybody, so. Any other ideas from you guys for that, or?
No?
Okay, I'll let you guys know how the training goes. I assume you all got the email, but I figured with the time, I'd be the only one going, but. Alrighty, so I'll go to that and I'll come back with some feedback and we'll go from there. F3, council chambers streaming continued discussion. Mr. Peterson, it looks like you had done some digging on that, or city staff. Who wants to take this one? It's all yours, Nick.
So I was told that in order for us to change the settings on the streaming service, we'd have to have Afterworld come and change it, so we're basically locked out of the system as far as every time we want to do anything with it, they'd have to come and fix it. So if we want to use that Restream service, they'd have to come here and put the details for the streaming service of how that would work. And then if we ever decide to go to something else, then they'd have to come and change it again.
Do you have any idea how many hours that would take? Is that something that's gonna be 1 hour?
I mean, so there's a trip charge, but as far as like what it would be, I mean, it should be less than 5 minutes.
Okay, so it says 125 per hour plus an additional 75 for travel time, so $200. If, I mean, I assume it's a minimum charge of an hour.
I assume there's some kind of lockout procedure, so we're barred from getting through that in order to get to the settings.
Oh, that's
And
horrible.
just putting in a couple addresses and a key and then closing it back up.
If I could make a correction, though, they did share that they would give us instructions on how to add in a restreaming service. It's just staff is not able to do it. So if somebody is able to do it, that was in the email, that they would share instructions, and they would work on it if given permission.
Okay.
So Nick
I
can
didn't
do
see,
it?
I didn't see that, in all I got was the the memo. It didn't say that.
Did you send that email to all of council?
Oh, isn't,
Oh, okay.
anyways, if we can get into it, then I can set it up.
That would be awesome.
Josie? Go ahead.
Say it one more time, Nick.
If we know how to get into it, then I can do that stuff, is what I'm saying.
I believe that they said that they would share instructions.
Okay, if they'll share them, then if we can get them, then we can give that a try, and then if not, then we can revert it back.
And that's council's decision if you want a council member to do it. I just want to reiterate that staff is not,
Well, Nick is
Able to do
capable,
it.
Nick is capable. So I have no problem with that. I think it's a good thing to do. I did have a question. So with the YouTube meetings, I know that we have to go through and manually upload them. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a couple days, depends on how busy y'all are. Would it be I mean, if we live stream them, would they automatically go on to and you guys won't have to mess with any of that? So
Correct.
even if we ended up not being able to, if he couldn't figure it out, we could pay the guy $200 and you would save the staff time in the long run of having to manually upload. Well, that's worth it on its own.
pending whatever difference would be for a restreaming service, if there was a
Oh,
cost to
yeah,
that.
sure, I suppose.
Because,
That's right. I think that was like $30 a month or something, wasn't it?
Which I found out a way I can build a computer that will do it for free. So I can
Uh-huh.
make a man in the middle that'll route the traffic. So
Okay.
if we can get that access to it and prove it out, I can make something that will get rid of the monthly charge.
Okay. I like the ingenuity.
That'd be awesome. So we'll be able to live stream Facebook and YouTube at the same time.
I
And any
mean,
other-
not limited
can
to
we
that, like
add-
you could 12 services, I mean, you can do
That's
whatever,
what I was.
whatever your heart
Instagram.
Can
desires.
we add more services in the
If we
future?
upgrade the box, we're locked at 2. If we go through either a Restream service or some other system, then it's whatever your heart desires, you can send it out to.
Awesome.
And from what I've seen, Restream has a free option for up to 2 right now.
Correct.
Otherwise, there will be an additional charge.
Correct. So we could do that free, test it out before we have to vote on anything as far as passing stuff, prove it out, and then if we decide we want to go that route, then vote on a plan or,
Okay. So devil's advocate, how does that work? Say if for whatever reason there's a glitch and the live streaming doesn't work, would it still save the videos to our local service?
Yeah, that box in there is still recording a copy on the device, and it has a drive with the
Okay.
USB that's, once that recording is done, is being copied to the USB and retained on the drive. And then once that recording is finished, it's also being sent to a server on site and being backed up there as well, so.
Okay, so there's no risk of us not having a video if we need it?
There's copies in triplicate when the stream is
Okay.
done, and then worst case, the stream doesn't go live to one of those two services, but it should self-recover and come back.
And
Okay.
we could just,
And we
Post it
aren't
out.
using the USB to bring it back there. It uploads it to our server and she pulls it off the server, just so you know.
Right, there's a USB in the closet that's being backed up to as well, though.
Okay, we don't use that, I don't know, but.
It's a,
Autonomous?
yeah. That's how he had described it to me when he was here.
so they'll have to go into the closet, hit it with a USB, you're saying, if they?
No.
Oh,
If the drive in there ever corrupted, there's an external copy, so that way if it wasn't able to make it to the server, it's still backed up in duplicate in the closet.
okay. Is the city required to keep copies of the video? Is that why we have that back? Because we have it live, okay, so we have to have our own copies besides what is on YouTube or Facebook. Okay,
A question.
now I understand it.
For local government, if we have, say, like we do, we have video, is that automatically public? Or can we say, no, this is just for clerk use?
State statute does not require us to have audio or
Yep.
video or anything like that, but if we do create it, it must become public.
And so, like, one of you can be like, okay, well, this is just for clerkish, use. So if we're recording this, video and audio, we have to release that
Correct.
to the public.
As long as it's not a closed session, and
Yep.
there's some rules with that, but
Yep.
yes.
Is that only
But
because
if we
we're,
create, if the data is created and it is defined by the state as public data, then yes, we have to release it.
Because it is a public meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
would that only be
gotcha.
municipalities or be all boards and townships as well?
I'm not familiar with all their state law, I mean, they may have different state statutes that they have to follow. I can only speak to the municipalities.
Will you be using SSD drives then, and not the old style hard drives, if you're gonna build a computer for back there?
I would do both. The spinning platter drives are cheaper and they can offer some resiliency that the SSDs don't have. I mean, everything's so cheap now, it makes no sense to not have a RAID array and have it basically be where you'd have to have multiple drive failures, if you know what that is.
No, I lost you on that one. I just was thinking that, I know old-fashioned hard drives like to fail every now and then, but the SSDs are a lot better, and I don't think you're gonna have a failure with.
They're faster, but they're not as long-term resilient. Like if you were to have something abnormal, like a power issue, the SSDs can have some loss of portions of the data versus the platters are more redundant in that regard.
Really?
But they're not as fast to get data off of it, but we're not generating any large files, so the platters are usually the way to go.
Glad I brought that up, because I'm reconfiguring a new computer, so
So what,
it just made me,
the computer again, remind me what you were thinking that would be used for?
The one I brought up tonight.
Yeah,
So a restream service takes the stream and then it broadcasts it out to multiple.
yep,
Rather than sending it to a restream service,
Okay.
we could send it to a small computer, and then that would be the one that would scatter it out.
okay,
Because that only allows one, so we have to get it from there to a point, and then from that point, transmit out to multiple points. So right now there'd be a provider, but we could also do it internally with a separate device
okay.
for like under $100.
and what would be their process? So they wanna start the meeting, would it change much what they're doing on their iPads or their laptops?
On here, they would do the same thing of start stream and then choose which camera or scene and all that kind of stuff, unmute the microphone. And then if they want to have a title associated with the live stream as far as date or content, that to go onto those services ahead of time and say what they're doing. And then the thing in the middle just has to know where that data is going to. So if you
So
had a
the
live stream today, you could
process
say
for-
Cal meeting for Tuesday, June 17th. If you want that to exist on the live stream so that the live stream has a title associated with it, you'd have to go ahead of time and say what that is. Otherwise, it would just say, Isanti City Council is going live, and it wouldn't tell you whether it's COW, whether it's City Council, whether it's Planning Commission. It wouldn't differentiate that unless ahead of time you designate that. That's done through the platform, not through anything here.
So the process shouldn't be any more difficult than it is right now for staff.
If you're labeling what the live stream is, it'd be however many other streams there are, you have to go to all those different services and title that stuff out.
Which shouldn't be hard to do, to put a title on them if they just have to.
Copy
get a
paste,
form
copy
to tell them.
paste.
Okay, what?
Just whatever you put in one, you copy and paste it to the other one, and
Okay.
you're not gonna name it something different.
Okay.
Sounds good. I think we should let Nick get the instructions and see how it works. I think we should, I mean, if we can get the Restream service for free, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world to try it. And then if it doesn't work, we do the computer idea, if that sounds fair to you.
I don't like being trapped into that thing that requires going through. I mean, it's very limited, and it seems artificially limited for what the cost is.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
What
what's
would
the
you
cost?
propose?
What's that?
What would you propose we do?
Instead of what we have in there? I mean, it's, from a point of use, it's sold as easy, and it can be easy, but the other system isn't very difficult, but you could build a computer for well under $1,000 that would do well more than we would ever need. But it would be a change, but would not be a difficult change outside of the normal stuff of maintaining a normal computer, so software updates and login, and whether you're gonna have it be in there and have a remote screen and keyboard and mouse and operate it, but someone might need a key to get in there to turn the power on if it shut off, or, so there'd be some access control stuff to consider as far as, I don't know how this building is when it's not in meeting, but if you had a computer sitting here unattended, what the implications of that would be.
That door's locked when there's no meetings in there.
Okay.
Josie has to unlock it to let us in. Anyway, the council's locked whenever there's not a meeting in progress.
But it could be used by the public too.
Right.
On request,
So that, I
It would
think
have to
having
stay
it back
locked.
there would be the best approach, and then having it,
or password protected.
yeah.
A lot of things to consider with that.
Well, how much is the speaker system, is it integrated right now with that? Will it change anything, or will it be on the new computer? That part of it is gonna be two separate.
It's about leaving the microphones and leaving the camera, but then a whole new system that processes that and then sends it out.
Okay.
So the tablet would go, and then the stuff in the server rack, some of that would get knocked out.
All right. So we're just modernizing it from what we have in there that's 20-some years old or whatever?
I mean, that, live streaming is changing constantly and rapidly as far as what the technology is, but the price point is falling, and yet they're asking for these prices of pre-COVID era stuff when everyone's streaming games constantly to hundreds of thousands of people, and
Okay.
it's hard to justify the cost and equipment when you can, a teenager can do it for nothing.
Sure. Is
George,
there,
you and I are out.
Oh, you could do it too.
is there, obviously I trust you, but is there anybody else that maybe could educate us more on this before we make a decision like that?
I mean, go to any church, and they're gonna be live streaming most services at most churches, and they're gonna have a lot of experience with setting it up unsupported.
Do they have microphones and stuff like that as well, like multiple microphones?
Like
Okay.
48 channels audio at my church,
Okay,
probably.
okay, I suppose music. Staff's thoughts? Is this,
Is it,
should we maybe I mean, it's not like it's a huge priority at the moment.
I wouldn't want to move forward with this until staff has a little more time on their hands for extracurriculars. Because, you know, I like Nick, but what if he's not on council at some point?
Right,
I'm just saying.
so could we just authorize Nick to do the flipping of the switches and then just do the restream, and then we can talk about the other stuff again at another meeting?
Yeah, if I'm okay to do a test, and then if it doesn't work out, then revert it back,
Yeah.
then that's all I need for now. It's no cost, it's just, that's okay to give it a shot.
I think it's a good idea. You can get it,
Do we have a
save some work.
A plan if that didn't work?
Bringing it back,
Yeah, or you could just
like
reconnect
take
the
a,
old system.
record what all the settings are, change the settings to something, test it out. If it doesn't work, then change all the settings back to the way it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then if that works good, then we'll move ahead and buy a new computer for that room is what?
Potentially.
you're saying?
Well,
Potentially.
there's 3 different tangent paths from there, but
I think we start with the small one, get it live
Yeah.
streamed, save the staff some time on YouTube uploads.
yeah.
And then I've come into situations where people are like, I don't have Facebook and I can't watch the live stream on Facebook and I want to watch it on YouTube, but it's not
thought
up
you
for a
had-
couple days. Sometimes, so if we could do it right away, I think it'd be good. Maybe people will live stream it on YouTube on their TVs because it's easier than doing Facebook and having to broadcast from your phone, your screencast.
We tried watching the Parks meeting last time, and we couldn't get Facebook to let us cast to the TV, and
Right.
we tried getting connected to the speaker, and that didn't work, but I mean.
But I bet YouTube worked.
Yeah,
Sure.
but it wasn't on there live, so.
One quick question,
What do you guys are giggling. What? Something over there? You hate this idea, like it?
All staff would ask is that we get proper training.
Okay.
so is YouTube only allowing people now to keep so many years of video on their platform?
That's only
No.
Facebook. That's YouTube's bread and butter, is
Yeah.
having
I know
easily
I asked
accessible
that before.
archives. YouTube has a different business model and approach than Facebook
Yes.
does in that. YouTube a large advantage of it is how easy it is to go back to the archives and search through videos.
Okay.
Versus how difficult Facebook makes it to find that stuff.
Because that's the thing I just love the most about the city meetings being on YouTube. You can go back 3, 4, 5 years, check something out that was said, and I think it'd be a great resource for all of our community, not only.
I think every
them, but
municipality should be required to do it myself.
I do too.
There needs to be more transparency in government, period.
I mean, even 10 years from now, I'm hoping they can go back 20 if they want to, not a problem. Or 30 if we have that much data on YouTube.
Sure, within 5 years, we'll be able to have AI go through and scrub all the videos and come up with transcripts and chapter markings and figure out what was really going on.
Yeah, that's amazing what's happening on that. Okay,
Well,
sounds like.
so we got a consensus to let Nick try it out and see if it works, and if it don't work, no harm, no foul, and we'll come back and revisit it, see if we have any other streamlining things that might work when we have more time.
Pun intended?
Yes. You guys good with that?
I think we should wait until after, our finance guy gets up and running.
So what?
Oh,
Yeah, Nick, yeah,
Our finance
the
guy,
new
he
guy,
said.
the new finance guy.
Sure.
What
So-
does that have to do with this
Well,
one?
what if this gets all screwed up?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
If something goes wrong,
And it
you
could
don't
go,
need it.
to be honest, it could go all as planned, but I am extremely busy. And I have Jaden taking on the full 100% lead of our new website, which is just getting rolling right now. So
Okay.
she's going back and forth multiple times a day with our designer. So I would say that we are pretty busy. If this is something that we just provide the Councilmember Peterson with access, and he doesn't need anything from staff, and then that's your prerogative. But if it does take staff time, I'm gonna ask that it wait at least 2 weeks, past July 1st, would be my request.
Okay. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
We'll do it next month sometime.
You're talking all Greek to me no matter what you're
We
doing.
do have early council meetings in July, because July 1st is a Tuesday. So if we wait till after the second, I can't, never mind, I take it back, because we have budget work session. So in July, we will have a meeting, skip a week, a meeting, 3 weeks in a row. And then the next week will be the
Who
fourth
set
week.
that up?
You all did. And actually, there's fourth, because then the first meeting in August is the next. So there are meetings every week that we are going to be extremely busy with doing the budget stuff. So, I mean, it's your prerogative if you want to work on it, but we will still carry on the meetings as scheduled, whether we can stream or not stream.
I'm very confident that Nick can do it in 10 minutes and be done with it myself, but by himself. But if y'all want to wait,
I would say wait a month.
okay.
That's just me. And it's not, I'm not saying that you don't know what you're doing, I'm just,
Worst case, yeah,
if
devil's
something goes
advocate.
haywire, I think, you know, especially with all the meetings coming, that people should be able to view it.
Sure.
So, just my 2 cents.
Let's say you did do it, would you be able to do a sample video and make sure it's streamed? Well, then it would be on our Facebook page. I wouldn't mind if it went onto YouTube, but I don't know if it being on Facebook would work. To just test it after you do it, there would have to be some kind of test.
We'd have to point at the Restream service to test it out, and that Restream service, I would point to non-city pages for a test, so that way it doesn't push something out. And then.
So like your personal Facebook or?
Sure.
Sure, okay. So you could test it like that for just a test? Okay.
Okay. That, I'm fine, whatever you guys choose.
Like I told you, you're talking Greek to me, so if it was me doing it, I guarantee it would fail. So I kind of caution with Mr. Holmgren here at the same point.
All right, let's just, I mean, my vote is to let him do it next month.
I'm good with that.
Steve and Jeff, okay, that's a consensus. You good with that, Nick?
Wait till next month,
Yeah.
after all the barrage of meetings, yeah?
Yeah,
So
Yep.
just for clarification, if we're waiting until after the run of business, of busy meetings, it'll be in August, not next month, because that's
Yeah,
July,
well.
but
I think that's fine.
Fine with me.
August.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, that's everything we had on the agenda tonight, unless there's anything else y'all want to talk about?
Motion to adjourn?
I just had one question. With the liquor store advertising online or social media, do we do geofencing?
Yes, we do.
So
We push out the main Highway 65 corridor. We do some boosted paid geofencing advertising with that.
around the city and.
And
do you-
south, so we're
Yep.
hitting people coming up. I'd have to look, it's been a while since I pulled that up and talked to
Yeah.
Keith about it, but Pat is south of Ham Lake. I think it goes down past Blaine.
Okay.
I've seen the bubble,
Yep.
but yep, we do geofencing for that.
Okay, I just figured, you know.
I think it's Blaine. We go down to, I think, the Highway 10.
Yep. Do we go
intersection.
north at all? I'm sure like to Cambridge or something.
We might go up to Cambridge, but I think we're trying to
Yeah.
hit the
Yep.
northbound traffic.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
I just had a question. I'll second your motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Councilmember Peterson, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.